Yo, what's going on, guys? And today, of course, we're going to follow up on the report we talked about earlier, the Clippers and the Cavaliers being interested in Ben Simmons. Now, according to the teams that are being added to those lists, are the Phoenix Suns, Minnesota Timberwolves, Boston Celtics, New York Knicks, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Denver Nuggets, which, let's be honest, is an impressive list to begin with, which I do think the Celtics and the Nuggets could be the front runners, or maybe not, because the Boston Celtics will be hard to compete for playing time. And then with the Nuggets, there might be like the floor spacing issue, but Michael Malone could figure it out. Obviously, the earlier report we heard was coming from Shams Charania saying the Clippers and the Cavaliers were interested in it. We're going to go ahead and break down all the teams regarding who could get Ben Simmons, and then we're going to talk about it. Obviously, I think the Celtics and Nuggets, it's kind of straightforward, and the Nuggets just have a three-point shooting issue, so that's where I kind of get concerned. While the Celtics, it would work, it's just he wouldn't get as much playing time. So let's just get through it and let's talk about it. We're going to start with the Lakers. They're fifth in the Western Conference, 29-19 as of this video. They are shooting 35.9% from three. They're not the best, but out of all these teams, they're actually like one of the worst out of these 8 teams in terms of three-point shooting. And they're not a great rebounding team, 41 rebounds a night. And they also struggle with three-point percentage in terms of their opponent shooting at 35%. So to me, I think that's one big issue. So how they stack up in terms of the league, 17th in points per game. They're, as I said, 17th in three-point percentage, 5th worst in total rebounds. And this is a team that right now I think would really, really benefit from a guy like Ben Simmons. Although the Lakers are poor from three, LeBron and Luka are two of the league's best playmakers. They would generate open shots not only for Ben Simmons in terms of him being a cutter, but he would alleviate one of them and allow that the offense would not stop flowing. That I think Simmons would not be forced to score from a distance if they were all on the floor at the same time, but he would be able to operate as the short roll man or the short roll passer, a cutter, and a transition playmaker. And the Lakers are a team that are averaging 41 rebounds a game, and that amongst the league is not pretty. So they're 5th worst rebounding team in the league, like I said. And Mark Williams and Jackson Hayes are really, and I know Christian Wood is still coming back from injury, but Ben Simmons is 6'10". He's averaged 5 rebounds a game in 25 minutes a night. Once their full front court is healthy, I think Mark Williams, Jackson Hayes really could be a good combination of front court help for Luka and LeBron. And this is a team that is also allowing opponents to shoot at 35.7% from deep. Simmons is a guy who can guard 1 through 5. He's an elite perimeter defender, albeit, he isn't the guy he used to be. And LeBron is 40 years old. He's sometimes has defensive lapses, but he'll allow them to keep shooters in check even when Luka and LeBron aren't at their best. And what this allows that Simmons can, with Dorian Finney-Smith, and even Gabe Vincent's an underrated defender, to basically move around and guard the opposing team's best offensive players. And I think when you look at the spacing concern, yeah, they're shooting almost 36% from three, but Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, Gabe Vincent, if Christian Wood comes back, I think they'll help keep Simmons honest and minimize the impact of his lack of range. So with LeBron James, Luka being the primary scorer, I think Simmons can just focus on what he does best, defense, playing in transition, table setting, and not be pressured to space the floor or score, and just be the ideal connecting piece. As the Lakers are a legitimate playoff contender, hoping to be a championship contender, having him just play into this role as they are a team that's 8-2 in their last 10, adding his defense and rebounding would allow them to really just go all in surrounding their 2 ball dominant superstars with players that are going to just allow them to play at their best. Now, if we go over to the Mike Budenholzer-led Phoenix Suns, they're 25 and 25, 10th in the West, and they are the 14th best scoring offense, 9th best three-point shooting team in the league at almost 38%, 9th worst actual rebounding team. And if you look at this, their guard rotation with Tyus Jones, Monte Morris really being their only pure guards on normal contracts, as Colin Gillespie is on a two-way, and Nick Richards, Mason Plumlee, and Osa Iguodaro being their big man rotation. I think the Suns are allowing 114.4 points per game, which is not great. Let's be quite honest right there. And their 42.3 rebounds, as I said, is in the lower half of the league. Getting Simmons would not only allow them to reinforce their perimeter defense, but it'll, especially since they traded Josh Okogie, but it'll allow them to get bigger and have some size on the boards. And this is the second worst team in team rebounding among the teams we've talked about. So the Lakers being worse. Simmons would play this point forward, probably point center role for them and give them the versatility to help guard bigger wings and forwards in areas where Durant and Beal, being older, aren't as good. And he's a good guy generating steals and deflections. So being the secondary playmaker, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Tyus Jones, and Monte Morris isn't really playing that much, aren't going to be really having to carry the on-ball creation as much in terms of facilitating. Having Simmons, who's averaging almost 7 assists a night, will really allow them to ignite the fast break, be a secondary playmaker or a primary playmaker, reducing the load of Booker and Beal to play more off ball. And in transition, he can space the floor. And if you remember how Giannis thrived under Mike Budenholzer, I think Bud would be able to use Mr. Ben Simmons in a similar fashion defensively and sometimes offensively. And the Suns are shooting a respectable almost 38% from three with Booker, Beal, Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, even Ryan Dunn sometimes. I think there's enough shooting to mask Simmons' lack of floor spacing. However, if Durant or Beal miss time, I think the half-court spacing could get tight with Simmons on the floor, but I think they'll be able to absorb a non-shooter. It will be a question in the playoffs if teams sag off Simmons, making him unplayable in the late fourth quarter. But the Suns are the 10th seed. They're on the playoff bubble. If they come back healthy with Durant, they could make a strong push and really be dangerous. This would allow them to climb up the standings, and under Mike Budenholzer's system emphasizing ball movement and transition, and similar to how Giannis thrived, I think this is a team that desperately needs a playmaker that does what Simmons does well: defense, rebounding, playmaking. And I know the only concern is whether his lack of shooting bogs down their half-court sets, but I think their existing star power makes them a good fit for him, especially on defense and transition offense. Milwaukee Bucks, they're the 5th in the Eastern Conference. They are the 12th best scoring offense. They actually are top 5 in three-point percentage. They're middle of the pack, 19th in total rebounds, and this is actually a team that allows 112.6 points per game. Their defense has dropped, and they haven't had that dog at the perimeter attack since our guy, Drew Holiday, left. And Kyle Kuzma was just brought in, so was Jericho Sims and Kevin Porter. This is a team that once elite defensively now is, somewhat middle of the pack. And Simmons, who can guard 1 through 4, can really be that point of attack guy for them, allow Damian Lillard to play off ball, and also be a guy who can help Giannis in terms of be Giannis's main backup. And the first thing everybody's going to be thinking is Giannis and Ben Simmons on the floor could shrink the half-court spacing, forcing Damian Lillard to be the primary floor spacer, and Taurean Prince is like really their only other consistent three-point shooter. It's always obviously AJ Green, but I think Damian Lillard's another good guy, and they have Gary Trent Jr., so I think they could make some lineups work if they're either staggered, as they're both non-shooters, Giannis and Ben, or surround the three of them with basically run a Damian Lillard, Brook Lopez, Gary Trent Jr., or, AJ Green, whatever you see fit lineup. And I think it makes sense because, look, the Bucks are allowing almost 46 opponent rebounds a night, and Simmons is an active rebounder who can start the fast break and is a perfect for the sidekick in a Giannis-centric fast break transition attack. And I really like the idea of that 6'10" size would really allow them to thrive. And again, just on the perimeter, I think he would just really help them. And offensively, I think his role would be running the pick and rolls, dribble handoffs, running plays with Damian Lillard either as the short roll man or the roll passer to Lopez, and even as a slasher and defensive stopper. And I think a team like the Bucks, who are in win mode with Giannis and Lillard, Doc Rivers is a guy who likes a defensive anchor. I think this is a little bit riskier because it's given the limit of a potentially awkward Giannis Simmons overlap that might keep them ideally from working. But I think this is one that, again, championship contender, makes sense why they would want to make a deal like this. So I could see something like this working out if this being the one. Next up, we got the Cavaliers. We'll go quickly on this one because we talked about it in the other video. Second best scoring offense, second best three-point shooting team, 10th in total rebounds. And Garland, Mitchell are elite shooters. There's so much shooting on this team from Strus, DeAndre Hunter. I know Dean Wade's hurt, but when he comes back, and same thing with Curl. They feature Ori Mobley. Mobley's shooting now though, and like Allen's a non-shooter. I think the potential to have a double non-shooting problem if they share the floor, but like you could just stagger the minutes and that wouldn't be a problem. And I think the Cavs already being near top in multiple categories because of Kenny Atkinson would really allow them to have Simmons just provide depth and give them more talent as they're already a top rebounding team. So Garland, Mitchell, Ben Simmons, a DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley lineup, or Jarrett Allen, I think just already being a stout defensive team, Simmons would just be a luxury on top of that, and potentially, just allow them to have better players because Jalen Tyson just didn't be the impact guy they thought. Dean Wade's been a little bit hurt. And I know it would create a log jam, but this would have him play kind of this backup point forward role next to Isaac Okoro, DeAndre Hunter once Dean Wade comes back. And the thing is, the Cavs might have too many similar non-shooting players, as Simmons would really just be the backup table setter. Even though Kenny Atkinson does like ball movement, he would run the second unit, but I don't know if that maximizes his impact. And the whole thing is I love Kenny Atkinson, and this is a team that's already defensively elite, and they do have a couple of non-shooters. The thing with Simmons is he would be a bench facilitator, especially on the forward wing position. He'd be a luxury piece off the bench. The thing is that they don't really need him. You would just assume that a guy like Kenny Atkinson would be able to engineer really good offense for him. Now, the Los Angeles Clippers could use his size. They're 6th in the Western Conference, 28 and 22. They are the 6th worst scoring offense. They are middle of the pack in three-point shooting. They are the 14th best rebounding team. And this is a team with James Harden, Norman Powell, Kawhi Leonard, Zubac, Derek Jones. They just got Marjon Beauchamp. And with Harden, Kawhi, Chris Dunn, Derek Jones Jr., I think there's enough shooter here that adding a non-shooting ball handler, they were just doing it with Kevin Porter. They had a non-shooting big guy. This is a team that only allows 107.5 points per game. They really do a good job of stopping their opponents from scoring, even though they're not necessarily a good scoring team. And again, they're a good rebounding team that just brought in Drew Eubanks. So that's just not solving a pressing need. And as I said, they're already a really good defensive team. Simmons would help, but like he would be more of an insurance policy. Like I said, a luxury, as he's not a floor spacer or a reliable scorer, and he would just help facilitate the offense. But James Harden's kind of in that role, and it would allow James to play off ball. But Norman Powell, Kawhi, and James are all kind of ball dominant players, but getting a ball dominant non-shooter is going to make it a little bit redundant. I do like the idea of Tyronn Lue emphasizing some spacing and isolation sets for Kawhi and Harden, where Simmons would probably be a backup forward or a point center as a small ball center. But the Clippers obviously don't really have a glaring hole that he would address. I think the Clippers have the talent to make noise, but the reasons to add Simmons would be marginal if you already have like a high level defense and all right floor spacing. I just think him being there, he really would be a secondary or a tertiary playmaker, and he just doesn't address the primary need of, having just firepower off the bench, not more so defense. And even though I think Simmons being a facilitator and a guy that Tyronn Lue could take advantage, it wouldn't be the most ideal marriages just given the situation. And finally, I think the Timberwolves, as I said, I think the Celtics and Nuggets would be solid fits for Ben Simmons, but I would just also believe that like situation would vary depending on how it would go. The Minnesota Timberwolves are only allowing 108 points a night. They're getting 44 rebounds a game, shooting 38%. And they are the 10th worst scoring offense in the league, but they are a top 7 3-point shooting team, 15th in rebounds. And they're solid. Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert do a really good job of playing defense, I think, Anthony Edwards can do a good job there. This team's already excellent perimeter wise. He's going to make them tougher and give them some size. But outside of that, he's not going to be fixing their main issue, which is offense and floor spacing. So I think the biggest thing is, yeah, Anthony Edwards is a rising star, a good shooter. McDaniels and Nasri can hit their open shots. Same thing with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. But with Simmons and Gobert being on the floor at times, unlike Karl-Anthony Towns, I think things will get cramped in the half court. And the reason why you would be bringing him in is because of point guard depth. Mike Conley's aging. Rob Dillingham's an old guy. Simmons theoretically would play point forward, but does that mesh with Gobert in the lineups? You might not be able to play him with Gobert. You'd always have to play him with Naz Reid. And to me, I think Chris Finch does a great job of running heavy doses of pick and roll with Gobert. And plus, Edwards is the primary scorer. You also have Julius Randle to think about. Like, Julius Randle loves those winding the shot clock down, like dribble the ball off, and playing him with Gobert as well as Randle, it just might stall the offense and keep playoff stretches unless they really stagger those possessions or those minutes. So I think right here, yeah, Simmons could help their point guard position, but the spacing issues with him and Randle and Gobert, yeah, they already have a strong defense and decent rebounding. I just don't think he's going to help them and be able to contribute in the clutch. That would make it just kind of redundant for them to get him. That's it. I really do think, man, after going through this, the Suns or the Lakers really might be the best one. I think he just ends up in Los Angeles, and if not, he goes to Boston or Denver.